So Ethan's starting to tell jokes now.
Oh, nice.
Sweet.
Which is really adorable because he doesn't really know how to tell them, which is great. Like I teach him the joke and then he just like does it. So he does a knock knock joke. He actually is decent at that one now, but then I was trying to teach him more complicated ones. So we do why did the bicycle fall over? Do you guys know this one?
No.
Do you know why?
No.
It was too tired.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
But the way he does it, he thinks that you have to ask a question every time. So he does, why does the bicycle fall over? I go, I don't know why. He says, and then he pauses for a little bit, and then he goes, why was the bicycle too tired?
Actually, I think it might be better that way. It's like a better joke. He's improved on a classic.
Well, apparently.
Yeah, so just prepare to...
It'll be great.
It'll be perfect.
Y'all motherfuckers don't watch us play throughout the year, to tell you the truth. I'm gonna be real with you, and I don't care if I get fined.
That must be Jervis with them. Shoot down.
That train is off the tracks.
Who doesn't love the bouncy castle?
Hitler.
Just prepare to... just prepare to be awash in undebeatable goodness.
Welcome, Pacers fans. You are listening to the Undebeatables, your semi-weekly Pacers podcast. This is episode 638. Coming to you from the high school home of Jamison Brewer, Silver Spring, Maryland, it's the Dr. Jason Triplett. This show, we're going to try to figure out what the Pacers should do for the remainder of the season and discuss the whole Ja Morant situation. Plus, we'll have a stat of the week and answer an Undegooglable. Joining me for all of this fun are two of our analysts coast to coast, like buttered toast. First, from Asheville, North Carolina. He's our in-house bartender, mixing up the drinks and the crappy jingles. It's John Colson.
What is up, Pacer Nation? What is up, Undebeatables? I got really excited because I was going to shout out March Madness and St. Patrick's Day, and then I realized that's a week away. So this week's going to kind of be slow. Enjoy it and drink up.
Sure, you can shout out Daylight Savings.
Oh,
doesn't that happen this week?
Shout out Daylight Savings.
And from Boise, Idaho, out west, it's our enforcer, John Harper.
What is going on, fellas? I'll do what Colson said he was going to do, which is shout out Joey and dedicate this show to him.
That's
Feel better.
right. Thank you. Yeah. Just sending good thoughts and health to Joey and his family.
And I want to shout out to, I guess, what is the generation after millennials? It's like Gen Z.
Gen Z,
is that
yeah.
right?
Is that the Zalphas? It's like Gen Z and Alpha or something?
I don't know if this is actually that, but I'm our intro reminded me of this, where I'm reviewing grants and people or these fellowship applications will say, okay, I'm going to do this bi-weekly, and then I'm going to do this bi-annually, and they mean the opposite things. Like in one case, they do mean every other week, bi-weekly, and in the other case, they mean semi-annually, but they.
Yeah, words have no meaning.
Yeah.
I mean,
so they're not going to get funded.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you giving grants
hey.
to people who don't listen to our show? Because they would know if they listened to our show.
Exactly. Sorry, I mean, this is how the cookie crumbles, guys. Okay, before we start the show, I just want to remind you guys.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real fast. If somebody, a potential person listened to the show and like put some stuff in their grant about Pacers podcasting, they have a better shot, right?
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Fair enough.
Before we start the show, just want to remind you guys you can support us every time you shop at Amazon. It doesn't cost you any extra. Just follow the link in the show notes or go to theundebeatables.com/Amazon. All right, boys. Pacers stand at 29-36 as we record this on a Sunday, just on the cusp of the play-in, and firmly in the land that the man our show is dedicated to, Joey, does not want us to be. Half a foot in the playoffs and a half a foot in the lottery. What are you guys thinking? We've been having this conversation all season, I feel like, and we still don't know what our plan is. Colson, where's your head at?
Well, it doesn't really matter what our plan is anymore. So, as we talked about in the last...
Why bother?
No. As we talked about in the last show, the Wizards picked up the Australian MVP. And also their schedule is absolutely cake. And there's no way they don't win more games than us going down the stretch. They are firmly at least in the 10 seed, maybe can move up. The Raptors.
Have you met the Washington Wizards? Can I introduce you to this franchise?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they're telling you the schedule it's got to be the easiest for the rest of the year.
Dead in the middle. They're 16th in the strength of schedule remaining.
Oh man, I was. It's okay. I'm going to read it real fast, and you guys are going to tell me that. So they play the Pistons, the Hawks, the Pistons, the Cavs, the Kings, the Magic, Nuggets, Spurs, Raptors, Celtics, Magic, Knicks, Bucks, Hawks again, Heat, and Rockets. Like, I mean, they've got to fall into half of those wins, right? I mean, geez, that's just easy as pie. And then the Raptors have been reinvigorated since the trade deadline. They've got they have themselves a center in Jakob Poeltl, and they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're on the upward trajectory. The Hawks, as much as I don't trust them at all, they have a new coach and have a little bit of new coach bump. I just think it's going to be real hard to pass those teams because we're 2 games back from the Wizards right now, 3 from the Raptors, and 3.5 from the Hawks. Now, it's doable if we go on a hot streak. I think what's more interesting is to look at what's happening below us, which is we're tied with the Bulls for the 11th, 12th seed. We're currently in the 11th seed because we have the tiebreaker. We're only 2 games above the Magic. And then if you want to drop, you cannot catch the Hornets or the Pistons because they're absolutely terrible. But when you're talking about the lottery, you got to think about the other side of the conference as well. Rockets and Spurs are terrible and uncatchable if you want to drop. But the Thunder are ahead of us only by a game at 29-34. Blazers by a game and a half at 30-34. And the Lakers by 2 games, 31-34. And the Pelicans and Jazz are both 31-33. If we catch fire and start winning games, let's say even half of our games, and other teams start tanking, we can put ourselves basically still in that 11 seed and not get in that play-in tournament and be at the worst lottery position you could be in. So I think that's Joey's fear this whole season, and it's looking very probable at this point.
Well, perhaps. I mean, I think that, yeah. I mean, the probability that these other teams tank is kind of not as high as you think, right? I feel like the Jazz are going to go for it, right?
You feel like the Lakers are going to go for it?
Pellies are definitely going to go for it.
Right.
Lakers are going to go for it.
The Blazers are going to go for it.
Dame Lillard can't not go for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And his franchise.
His
Yeah.
DNA.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like we're in a prime opportunity to just sit Halliburton down for a 2-week stretch and, just see where the chips fall,
Well, I mean, the thing is, if Halliburton sits, we are a terrible team. And that could put us as low as we can get is the 5th position, which is what we were last year, and got us the 6th pick and got ourselves a really nice.
Got us the greatest pacer of all time.
Yeah, exactly, a really nice piece. Also, so if you're in the top 4 or the bottom 4, you have. Is it 3 or 4 that you have equal odds?
4.
Yeah. So that 5th spot changes your odds dramatically, but we can't tank hard enough to get to that bottom 4. Even if we don't win another game, we're going to be ahead of that. But, we do play a lot of bad teams. Even without Halliburton, it's hard for me to see this team not winning, another 5 to 8 games, even trying not to try.
So we're currently 21st in strength of schedule, where number 1 is the most difficult strength of schedule and 30 is the easiest.
Okay.
Our remaining teams have an under 500 combined record at this point. But that said, we lost to the Spurs with some authority last week. So
some authority.
I mean, I'm not worried about 5 to 8 games. I mean, if it were to happen tomorrow, I mean, essentially we would have the 7th, 25th, 28th, 31st, and 55th picks in this draft.
Okay.
So that's a lot. You could potentially get a really good haul. You could potentially trade up in those scenarios, and you may be in a position to just straight up get lucky, with an 8.2% chance of drawing, the number 1 ball.
Yeah. And I'll correct myself, Colson. The odds were flattened for the the bottom 3, not 4. So the bottom 3 have a 14% chance of the number 1 overall pick.
And what's 4? Like
12.5.
Yeah. And 5 is like 10.
Mm-hmm. Okay. 10.5. Yeah.
Now, I mean, so there is the, I said there's no way we're going to catch the Hawks, the Raptors, and the Wizards. As you mentioned, the Wizards are a crapshoot at this point. And I still think the Hawks are. If we went 10-7 and won 39 games, there, you could be in the play-in tournament. In the 9 or 10 seed. Is that something we want to shoot for at this point? I mean, do we want to get that 1 game playoff seasoning?
I mean, if we got that hot, I would buy in.
Okay.
I'd be on board. You know what I mean? Like, 39 is not a horrible.
I mean, 10-7 isn't that hard to do, right? You're just playing a little bit above 500 at that point.
I mean, it depends on who you are.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're a team that plays below 500, then going 10-7 is very hard.
But I mean, the thing is that the reason we're below 500 is because we didn't have Halliburton for so long, right? We've seen that this team can compete against the, we went toe to toe with Boston just the other night, right? Like we've had some very impressive wins this season. When we look good, when Hield is hitting shots with Miles Turner's, new confidence and a bunch of other guys, playing scrappy. This team is capable of being a playoff team, and if we hadn't missed Halliburton for that stretch, I think we'd be right in that mix of the, 6, 7, 8 seed. So if he's healthy and this rolled ankle isn't anything, there's no reason why we couldn't do that. I'm just wondering whether we should, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's an interesting thing about the plan, right? If it were we needed to go 10-7 to get the 8th seed and get a 7-game series against the best team in the league, like, I'd be more apt to say, yeah, let's do that, because I have seen, over the course of the history of the NBA, that young teams that get that seasoning early on mature more quickly.
Agreed.
And become, competitive the following season, right? With the play-in, right, like you said, it's a 1-game like coin flip almost. You know what I mean? As to whether or not you and in this case it's 2 coin flip games, right? As to whether or not you actually get that experience. So I don't know. It's an impossible math problem to solve, right? Because there's so many unknowns and so many variables as to what we end up with.
Yeah.
In the draft, you know.
So. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about it, to be honest. I mean, I think that Chicago, sure, we beat them, but they look pretty good and they're healthy and they really need to they can't not make the playoffs. Billy Donovan's done if they don't make the playoffs, right? I mean, that would just be, he should probably be done anyway. But
the amount of investment they made in all these players and all the money they're spending, and
they're tied with us, who are in like maybe tank mode. Like that's not a place where they should find
rebuild.
Themselves. Yeah, with 17 games left to go. So I see them going up. I don't think that the last 20 games for all these teams, clawing for the playoffs are going to get easier. Mathurin, it seems like maybe has kind of hit a little bit of a freshman wall. Miles Turner's confidence, I hope it stays right where it is. But one of those things with confidence is it does tend to ebb and flow a little bit. So he might not be the double machine in 2 weeks that he is today. A missed game from Halliburton is the same as an L, as near as I can tell. Right. So I don't spend a lot of time worrying about it. It's still concentrate first on development and kind of let these chips fall where they're going to fall.
You bring up a good point, Harper, because like the factor that we haven't talked about is what's going on the top half of the bracket, which is everybody is like very bunched up. So like essentially everybody's playing playoff basketball now to try to position themselves in the playoffs, right? And so there's not going to be a team that's way out ahead that's going to start resting their guys down the stretch or whatever. Everybody's in the sprint to try to get a higher position and try to get home court advantage or whatever, or make it into the play-in playoff or whatever.
Right. So right now the Bucks are a half game up on the Celtics, and what are they? 16 of their last 17 or something stupid like that.
Correct.
They didn't have home court advantage in the playoffs last year and lost in Game 7, so I think they want to have that home court against the Celtics. They're going to be playing their butts off. The Knicks apparently don't lose anymore, but you wonder if that last game of the season that we play them, whether they're going to be slotted in or whether they're still going to be fighting for position. But they're fighting for home court advantage right now. And we get to play them a couple times. They're not going to want to drop a game. The Cavs, the Sixers, the same thing. We're playing the Sixers twice and the Cavs once. They're fighting for the 3rd seed. The higher teams we play, I think it's going to be harder to win. But the teams below us are going to be trying hard to lose. So, again, I think it's going to be hard not to fall into 5 to 8 wins.
Yeah, although, I mean, I would say that those bottom 3 are, like, kind of guaranteed.
Yeah, it doesn't matter for them.
So, like, I think they're actually going to
play hard because, they can't win enough games to lose their spot. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's the only... It's Detroit, San Antonio, and the Rockets max out at 16 wins. The next team is the Hornets with 20, so...
Yeah,
you get down to the last 10 games, and it's not like they're going to rip off a 10-game run. Like you can,
I can guarantee that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they have the Australian MVP on their teams, so there's no way they could turn it on like that.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, they may be motivated, but we might find them a little friskier than we did earlier in the season.
Well, okay. The other thing that you said, Harper, that made me think is, we're talking about player development, and that's, it's been so key all season, and you've really seen strides from a lot of these guys that seemed like, guys that might, not even stick in the NBA, right? Like the Neesmiths and the Waras and the Jalen Smiths and whatnot. These guys have had all their turns and played very well in stretches. Nembhard, our second, our late round draft pick, looks like he belongs. We've been, seeing a lot of guys shine at different points in the season, is the best plan here to say, hey, look, we really do care about this rolled ankle with Halliburton. Let's let these guys figure stuff out and let the rest of the season shake out as it's going to be. I mean, I don't know.
I would take zero chances with Halliburton. If there was any swelling, if there was a visible bruise, if he stuttered, I would sit him down.
Agreed. For what it's worth, I'm on tankathon.com. I just simmed the lottery, and the Pacers won. So
yeah, baby.
Woo! Wembanyama coming our way.
All right.
Do we remember how long? What was the stretch? Was it 17 games that Halliburton was out?
No, it was like 11, more like 11, right?
Okay.
Or something.
And we won like 2 of those or something?
We won none of those.
None of those. Perfect. Okay. Well, that's how you get where we're at. Because, we were...
Or maybe it was the first 10 that he was out, we lost. And then maybe we picked up a couple.
Scrapped one out or something.
Yeah.
Because we did win that Lakers game when it was Nembhard, right? As the starting point guard.
Yeah. Good point.
But that wasn't when he was out for his long stretch. I think it was when Halliburton was like missing a game or 2 or something like that.
Yep. So, shifting gears dramatically. Pacers fans may be familiar with a guy named Ja Morant from a story that came out, this is 3 or 4 weeks ago, that after the Pacers game, was it in Memphis? They were on the bus. Was it in Memphis?
I thought it was at home.
It was in Indy, yeah.
It was in Indy?
Yeah.
They're on... Somehow there was an incident where a laser pointer... Ja Morant's boys were pointing a laser pointer at the Pacers team bus or something like that. Right?
Yeah, no, that would be
bus.
in
That's
that'd
why
be
I
in
think
Memphis.
it was the road.
Yeah. You're right.
And so everybody's like, huh, that's weird. And Ja Morant may have been involved, or at least was condoning this activity.
He was with his buddies when this happened or something. Yeah, he was in the car when it was happening.
And everybody's like, Ja, what are you doing? Like, come on.
Well, there was talk that the laser pointer was connected to a gun, but
Right.
the league has been unable to confirm that.
That's correct. Yeah. And since then, some wild things have come out about Mr. Morant. The first is apparently last summer. Was it last summer? He was playing pickup basketball, as one does as an NBA player.
Yeah,
just
it's definitely in your contract that's okay. I'm sure of that. Yeah.
And a juvenile, a 17-year-old, apparently either was playing too well or trash talking Morant too much, and there was an incident where Morant punched him at least once, perhaps multiple times
with a closed fist.
And then at the time, Morant claimed self-defense, I guess. But since then, information has come out that makes it seem maybe like that wasn't the case. And then Ja Morant has just recently been suspended for a minimum of 2 games after posting an Instagram Live video of him at the club with a shirt off, brandishing a weapon.
Firearm.
So what's going on? I thought Ja Morant was like our lovable young rising superstar that just loved to play ball and yam on people.
You also left out where he threatened the mall security guy.
Oh, I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, wow. So apparently his mom went to Foot Locker, which all of this seems made up to me. Like, why is Ja Morant's mom at a Foot Locker? Like, doesn't that dude have a shoe deal?
Right. She should be getting free shoes all the time.
This is what I'm saying. And apparently she gets so spun up that she has to call Ja to come straighten out the Foot Locker, guys? I don't understand what's happening. So he goes down there and mixes it up. They got to call the cops. And then he's like, well, we'll just figure out what time this dude gets off work. And so then he filed a police report because he's like, Ja's going to murder me.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So that's what Ja's been up to.
Well, what was this the Shannon Sharp thing? Wasn't that in Memphis with the Lakers?
That was in L.A.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that was all.
But it was
Memphis
Memphis.
Right, but
yeah,
it wasn't Ja Morant specifically. I think we speculated before that, this was just a young team that didn't have, enough veteran leaders. We talked about Steven Adams not being around or something, and suddenly they're starting to feel themselves and, trying to be tougher than they needed to be. But it started to seem like maybe a slightly deeper issue that maybe Ja Morant or his crew or the people he's surrounding himself with are,
they're crazy.
Yeah. And no one's kind of protecting him from this stuff. Like how does he not have anybody in his life to be like, you shouldn't post this thing on Instagram? Like what? Like are we?
I mean, yeah, that is a Generation Z situation, right? Like I feel like.
But I mean the thing is, like, we dealt with this with the post brawl Pacers, right? Like the guys were just making poor decisions over and over again. It's like, how do you not have a designated driver? How do you not have a security guy so you don't have to shoot up the strip club? Like, how are these decisions being made?
Yeah,
and
why did the Foot Locker guy get you so spun up that the police had to get involved?
Exactly.
What's going on in your brain, man?
Right. Exactly. And what and when you are, a person that is, one of the faces of the league, and has generational money now and is,
everything to lose.
Exactly. And nothing to gain by any of these interactions. Just absolutely nothing to gain by these interactions. It's just a bummer.
It is a bummer, and it's in stark contrast. I think we've been in a relatively nice period with the NBA over the last decade. Really I would say, where misconduct off the court hasn't been
a thing really at all.
Brutal, right? I'm sure I am totally forgetting blatant incidences, but. Yeah, and now in this past offseason, if you'll remember, we started the season with two very interesting incidents. The first was the guy in Charlotte, who I'm blanking his name now.
Not Mikal Bridges, but it's something like that. Miles.
It's the other
Miles Bridges.
Has the domestic violence incident.
Lost himself in a major contract and potentially
and then Josh Primo has the situation where he exposes himself to the team psychologist like multiple times, and the team doesn't do anything about it and whatnot. Is this a sign of a shift in, I don't know, like sort of the decorum, I guess, of the average NBA player, like, or is it, it used to be David Stern would rule over the league with an iron fist, and now Adam Silver is a much more gentle-handed leader and a player-friendly leader, and
I don't buy that, because the thing is a lot of the stuff
that like an old white guy.
Well, no, because most of that stuff that we're remembering happened under David Stern's watch. Like, I don't think this is an Adam Silver issue, right? Like, I love to tell the story about the old Jailblazers when was it Stoudemire got pulled over with like 2 pounds of weed, and they charged him with possession, or no, they charged him with intent to sell, but he got the sentence reduced because he just said, "Hey, I'm rich and I buy in bulk. I wasn't going to sell this stuff anyway."
Yeah. This is my personal stash.
Exactly. I don't have to sell weed. I'm a millionaire, right? So, and that's a legitimate argument. But I mean, that stuff was all under David Stern's watch, right?
Sure.
And so I'm not sure that this is Adam Silver's allowing this stuff to happen. I think one thing is that LeBron has been sort of the face of the franchise for a long time, and you talk about a guy who just completely keeps his stuff together and, on the level and under wraps. And I think he's a guy that people look at. I think also after the 90s, early 2000s stuff, I think NBA teams brought in, player personnel and had classes and worked with people about managing money and how to manage your time and make sure they have drivers. And, I think some stuff has changed because of that whole era. And, maybe it's just that these things are coming out at the same time and this isn't a new pattern. I'm hoping.
I agree. I was just more playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
But.
I mean, I think it's hard to not see a pattern in John Morant's behavior.
I mean, for sure.
I would argue that the biggest thing that changed the league, I would agree with you, Colson, that it really has been these teams and these organizations doing everything they can, not only to make sure that they have people in their organization who aren't going to do what they can to embarrass them, but also really proactively helping guide these young players, through the money part of it and, through the growing up part of it so that shit like this doesn't happen. Because obviously this is bad, for the league, but also, if somebody doesn't slow him down, Ja gonna be in jail. Like he's not on a good path right now. This is not going well.
There was an article. It was in the USA Today, but I think it was written by a local Memphis beat reporter. But basically, he said this isn't. This is Ja's fault, but this also falls on the Memphis organization because they have not dealt with all of the things that have led up to this. They've allowed him to be a petulant child. They've allowed him to continue to hang out with the wrong group of people. They have not said anything. They've actually defended him on everything that's happened before this, and made him feel like he wasn't in the wrong. And so he was blaming the organization as much as Morant. But these are ultimately decisions that Morant's making, and he's making poor decisions.
Well, of course, but that is interesting. People are people, right? And their behavior is dictated by what the rewards and consequences are to their actions, right? And so, if an organization is not investing their resources and time and energy to, help their players excel off the court, then that's going to lead to problems.
Well, I think the argument was that they've been coddling him,
Even more so, yeah. So even worse, right?
Yeah, so at this point, the team has officially yanked him for the 2 games. That was done, again, by the team, not by the league, though I'm sure the league will want to have a look at this, so...
They might have suggested it. You don't think so?
No, I think the league will just do what the league does. But if the suspension imposed by the team seems appropriate, then they won't take further action.
Right, for sure.
Right,
for sure.
They'll say, "Okay, you've served your time." Now, Taylor Jenkins, coach of the Grizzlies, had come out today and said there's no timetable for his return. I don't know what kind of deliverables you ask of a guy in a situation like this, but. Certainly it's time to start in on some therapy and some other stuff and, kind of see where that gets you. A little time off. Maybe what is needed there, probably not what is needed for the Memphis Grizzlies, who sit a game and a half in front of the Kings for some reason in the second seed in the West and 3.5 games ahead of the Suns, but not for long. Because
the Kings and the Suns are coming for that spot.
Returned.
Yeah, the Suns don't lose anymore. They're done. They're done with that.
Yeah, not an ideal time in this playoff push for sure. To Morant's, he posted something about how he's going to take time. He apologized to everyone and how it hurt the organization and his family and all that, but he's going to take some time to work on himself. So. Hopefully that time is taken and it's not just a
Yeah, and I mean, we would always, when we were fans of the Pacers back in the, the Jamal Tinsley, Steven Jackson era, we would always point out that these guys are 20, they're in their mid-20s.
Right.
And we were in our mid-20s at the time and doing stupid things all the time.
Sure.
And it just takes, a couple formative moments for people to, especially young men of this age whose brains are literally still maturing, like they're not in their immature state yet, to come to realizations and be like, wait, I am doing the wrong thing. Like, this is not what I should be doing. And so hopefully that's the case, and it's a good wake-up call, and he's moving in the right direction for this.
Keep our fingers crossed for it.
Because he is an absolute delight to watch
so
on a
good.
basketball court.
Electric.
So I want to see him for the next 15 years.
Sure, and what he means to that city is just amazing too, right? I mean, it's just I worry about I don't think that connection for him in that city is going anywhere. But if he really takes a negative path, that's really going to hurt that franchise and ultimately that city.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hoping all the good things.
All right. Well, let's leave it there. I guess we'll keep you updated as the story moves forward. Joey is not here. Hopefully he's feeling better by the time he's hearing this. So I'm going to step in and handle the stat of the week. This week is an actual statistic, and it's actually basketball related, and the number is 1,113, which is, as we record, the number of blocked shots that Miles Turner has recorded as a Pacer.
Whoa.
And that brings him to number 2
Holy
all time
crap.
as a Pacer in blocks. He passed Rick Smits during that Bulls game.
That happened real fast.
Yep. He is now, what is that? Jermaine O'Neal is number 1 with 1,245. So that's, 132. He needs, probably won't get that this season. So we're looking at next year. But luckily,
he can get that next
he
season.
is under contract.
He is under contract.
That's right. He will pass that next season based on health. Knocking on wood.
Well done. Yeah, so it took, here's another wild stat. It took Rick Smits 867 games to get his 1,111 blocks. And it has taken Miles Turner 486.
Rick Smith is also like 7'9", right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. We have not done an Undegoogable in a while, so I figure we should do one. Colson, what can we solve for you this week?
Oh, are we doing Undegooglables?
That was the plan.
Super excited.
You told us we had to, sir.
We said we signed up for it.
In the end, it's going to be better and more true than Google can give you.
Well, I have questions all the time, and I usually hold them. I write them down. I put them in my pocket, and I say I'm going to wait until I talk to my smartest friends. This week, I've got one stuck in my craw. So, I mean, I guess it's multiple questions here. What's a craw, and what's stuck in it?
Good place to start.
Yeah.
What is your sense of what's the meaning of this phrase first? Let's start there.
I always thought of it as something that was, I was annoyed or pissed off because there was something bothering me.
Yep, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
That's it. Harper, that's your general.
Okay. Lasting irritation. perhaps.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm just particularly upset about the fact that this thing is stuck in my craw. But is craw an eye, a mouth, a butthole? Like, I don't know what my craw is.
I know about a crawdad or a crawfish,
yeah.
which is a mini lobster, basically, right?
Okay.
Is that what a crawdad is? A crawdad is... A crawdad and a crawfish, the same thing?
No, they're
Undegoogable,
different.
inside and undegoogable?
No. The crawdad is like the little bitty thing, and the crawfish is what you get, and they're like mini lobsters.
So what's a crawdad?
Crawdad is like a little. It's got like little pincers. It's like what you catch in the creek.
In the creek.
Oh, okay. So a
I think you catch it in the
crawfish
swamp or
is.
something.
So if you were to like order them, they're all little things with pincers.
Yeah, but so you guys didn't catch crawdads when you were kids?
Oh yeah.
You catch them in the creek, you know, and you put them in a little aquarium, and they die a couple days later.
No, we did not do that.
Okay.
I did that. I'm with you.
Yeah. Okay.
And so a crawfish is just larger than that.
Yeah, but I think it's. I would assume it's. I assume it's
better?
a different species.
Okay. You know what they say about assuming, right?
That's true.
Okay. All right, but a craw. Let's get back to a craw.
Okay, go ahead.
Harper, you intonated earlier when we were discussing this that it's a mouth thing.
Yeah, I thought
mouth related.
craw was mouth. So my sort of intuition on this one is that, you know, if a human or perhaps an animal gets something stuck in their craw, and maybe I just think that because it rhymes with jaw, could be no more complex than that. But if you get something stuck, you know, like a piece of food, it will decay and cause irritation potentially.
Yeah. Well, and there is a thing, like birds have a crop, which is like the thing before the esophagus that like grinds up seeds and stuff like that. So maybe you're conflating crop and jaw. I don't know.
Well, if it was,
if
it was stuck
side
there,
note, I agree
choking.
with you. My initial thinking was that it was oral in some way, shape, or form. I don't know why,
but I don't think of it as in the back of my throat because then I'd be choking, right? I think of it as like it's stuck in my tooth.
So you also had an oral connotation to this.
I mean, I don't know. It was an irritant, so like I thought. Yeah, one of the holes. I figured it was my teeth. Something's caught in my teeth, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And so that makes sense. If something gets stuck in your craw, you get a toothache. It's a real pain in the A, you know? So, all right, where do we think this is coming from? Like, what time period? What region? Is this an American thing? It seems like an American thing, but maybe I'm...
Well, okay, so here's, I guess, if it's stuck in your craw, it's not just an irritant. It's an irritant that is such a big deal that it's sort of outraging you, and you can't really focus on anything else, right? I've got something stuck in my craw. I got to talk about it right now.
Okay,
right?
Sure. Yeah.
So it's not like having... a popcorn seed in between your teeth. It's more dramatic than that.
I feel like if I have a popcorn thing stuck in my teeth, I got to deal with it right then. I can't just like I'm mid conversation and just like
you just kind of
finger in mouth trying to get it out.
Kind of noodling it with your tongue.
Like I'm trying to be tactful or couth in that situation.
Okay.
So, to me, it sounds like a rural America type of saying.
I could buy that. It definitely feels like animal husbandry thing. Like I don't feel like this really is a human thing. I feel like it's an animal thing. Like you get an animal, it gets something stuck in their craw, it gets infected, and then you got to chop its head off.
Oh God!
Okay, so that's
I thought we had to
rural.
pull some teeth. We had to cut their head off. So are you talking about like? So you're thinking like it's for a cow?
Falconry.
Falconry.
What about horse racing?
Could be horse racing. Hey, let's go horse racing. Let's go.
Okay. What if your craw is your toes or something? Like it's in your hoof, and then like that really bothers you. Stuck in your craw.
Yeah.
It's like a bunion or something.
No, like if you get like a nail or a piece of wood or something spiked up in your...
Oh, no. I'm just saying, like, if you have a thing on your foot, it's, like, annoying because you walk everywhere.
Yeah.
And it hits you every time. Just like if you have an annoyance in your mouth, you have to eat, so it's going to bother you every day. So...
But I'm with you, Jason. I think this is it's a rural America 1800s slang. Craw's a slang term for your mouth hole, for your face hole, they've called it craw for other situations in the past, and somehow this is what filtered down.
All right, I'm with you.
So I'm thinking. Georgia O'Keeffe.
Georgia O'Keeffe.
You guys love it when I guess that.
All right, so according to the Southern Standard, stuck in one's craw means annoyed by something unpleasant but forced to accept. This saying comes from food, which is collected in a fowl's preliminary stomach called a craw. I always thought it was called a crop.
The craw is the crop, or preliminary stomach of a fowl.
Where it is pre-digested through the use of grit and stones, swallowed before going on into the gizzard to finally dissolve into either usable form. Okay.
So it's so you nailed that the crop, but here's the thing. Is it the idea that it's something that you can't break down with your little stone stuff in the crop?
Right.
Well, so
it's
hunters centuries ago noticed that some birds swallowed. And this is from whatever phrase origins or whatever. Bits of stone that were too large to pass through the craw and into the digestive tract. These stones, unlike the sand and pebbles needed by the birds to help grind the food, literally stuck in the craw.
Oh,
couldn't go down farther.
Right. Okay.
And the oddity became part of the language, and hunters used it figuratively.
The earliest known citation is from Old Times in Tennessee by Josephus Con Gilt, 1878.
I think
we kind of nailed the timeline for sure. And also, you guessed the bird crop. It's very literal, though. It's a stone actually stuck in their craw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of them old folksyisms. Do you want to do another one since we just nailed that so quickly? And
that went too well. We've got to
come on. Let's challenge ourselves.
We don't stop until we embarrass ourselves.
That's right.
Let's go.
I want one way it goes very poorly for us to finish. So since we're doing oral fixation stuff, how about bated breath? What do you got on bated breath?
In the context of like I'm waiting with bated breath.
Correct.
Anxious, eagerly awaiting some future event.
Right. Baited. What is baited? And baited is B-A-T-E-D.
That's what I would go with.
That's what I would go with as well. But
like kind of stopped breath. Like abate is to
interesting. I was thinking
like withdraw.
More along the lines of literally like a baited hook, right? And so maybe you catch your breath like as if someone had, caught it with bait, sort of a thing was my visualization of it.
That's
but the abatement
cool
thing is interesting.
Yeah, that might have solved
it. I guess I've never seen it written, and I was just assumed it was okay.
I'm fairly sure it's B-A-I.
B-A-I-T-E-D.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which would be, I like the idea of catching one's breath with like catching a hook.
Yeah.
you've bait a hook, you bait a breath.
Yeah, you bait a hook, and then when you get
it's
a nibble,
along the same lines of like, I'm like holding my breath to. to hear this thing. Like, I can't breathe until I hear this thing. Or the reverse, which is like, don't hold your breath. It's not going to happen soon, right?
Well, I wonder if it is with fishing then, right? So like I'm trying to be quiet and not. I'm just
because fishing is boring.
Well, it's boring, but you also want to.
But then there's sudden moments of excitement.
You want to hold your breath when the fish is nearby because you don't want to make any sudden movements, right? So it's the breath you have when you have a baited hook. I don't know.
All right.
That's maybe too literal.
Can we think of another?
Well, what you said is a bait.
How else do you use bait? Yeah, baited breath. If it were, I don't even know if BATED is a word.
Well, I don't know either, but I mean, there's no reason to.
That's how you wrote it.
You wrote it down BATED.
I wrote it down BAITED is what I wrote it down.
Okay,
but it doesn't mean that that's correct. I didn't look it up, so.
I mean, that would seem fairly straightforward. It's just the abatement of breath.
Right. And I think that's probably right.
It probably is right.
Are there other uses of bait? BAITE or BAIT? I need to go to bed.
No.
Not really, right? Like you bait a trap. That's like
you literally
instead of baiting a
bait
hook.
things. Yeah.
All right, let's go fisherman. We haven't had a nautical term in a while, and lots of things come from boats, right? Haven't we had many?
Yeah, a lot of them. For sure.
Many a phrase.
We have.
Sure.
Cats of nine tails and
really important part of human history is our relation to water.
I like the cut of your jib and whatnot.
But if we're going with to abate, right? Well, the root of that is what? Probably Roman.
Latin.
Yeah, probably.
And it probably means to stop.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the right answer. It's probably just Latin for stopping your breath.
One of the Plinies.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take Herman Melville, you take Pliny.
Okay, deal.
So when I type the word baited, because Google is listening to me, it autofills baited breath, spelled BATED.
There you go.
Okay. So.
Let's see.
Baited breath first appeared in Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice in 1605.
We haven't had Shakespeare in a while.
God, we suck on ourselves on that one. How do you not go with Shakespeare with a made up word? Come on.
Right.
Come on. Undebeatables?
Yeah, he had to shorten it so that he could keep his iambic.
100%.
Yep.
In great suspense.
It's a shortened form of abated, meaning stopped or reduced.
Yeah.
All right, Shakespeare.
Holding their breath in excitement, short for abated. Yeah.
Baited is not in common use anymore except in this phrase.
Okay, that's fun. Is it
interesting?
Is
Okay.
is that like a lost positive or something?
No.
Well, you're right.
It's a lost. It's not even a contraction. It's just like a.
Well, it's because Jason said couth earlier, and I was like, lost positives. When I typed in baited breath, the third option was baited or baited, the way we had spelled it. So I don't feel so dumb.
Yeah, it's apparently a very common error. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it makes sense since baited
is not a word.
It's not a word.
Not a word in any other context anymore.
Well, that's fun to know, at least.
So apparently it's rising again in on this page. The Grammarist has one of those usage charts over time, and so it's nothing until the 1860s. It starts to go up, peaks in around 1900, falls back down, and now it's been coming back up since the 2000s.
Oh, interesting.
In usage, yeah.
You got real nervous about Y2K. never looked back.
Sitting around with it. Although I'm now when I say that phrase or hear that phrase, I'm just gonna see the guy with his little fishing pole over on his boat over a fish, waiting with bated breath. I like the wrong answer more than I like the right one sometimes.
It's often the case with life. Synonyms: agog, eager,
Sure.
excited, enthusiastic, flabbergasted, open mouth, and thunderstruck.
Really? What? Those are synonyms?
According to your grammarist.
Taken aback, I would put in that as well.
But I think of it as the opposite.
Thunderstruck does seem like more shocked than, and also agog, I think.
And
Right.
open
Well,
mouth.
and flabbergasted, right? Like, I mean, I instead I think of like I'm waiting anxiously in anticipation. I've not had the flabbergasted and agog are the response to those things. I feel like this is the pre-thunderstruck or whatever.
Pre-gog.
I'm yes.
Oh wow, that was a good one. That got me right in the right
Right
craw. All right, well that was pretty good. Good, a 2 for 1, listeners. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Until we see you next week, we want to thank you for listening, and you can find us here. You can tweet in your Undegooglables if you have them to @Undebeatables on Twitter. You can send us a message on Facebook.com/TheUndebeatables. You could email us if you're into that kind of thing. Shout out at theundebeatables.com. Or if you want to remain completely anonymous, you can go to theundebeatables.com and we have a contact form there. And you can say, do not share my name. And we won't. And while you're on that website, there's a little link called Store. And you can go over there and you can find yourself a small Undebeatables t-shirt. Just for you. It's got your name on it. It's waiting for you. Just go. Buy it. Do it. Buy it. Now. Buy it.
You know
Go.
a small person in your life. Just do it. For the architect, Dottie Walsh, and our once and always Hall of Fame coach, Bobby Sick-Leonard. Turn out the lights. The party's over.
Good work.
Solid.
Are you gonna work David Benner into your outro?
That's a lot. It's going to get pretty long if we just keep mentioning everybody that leaves or dies.
Well, I mean, but he was like, so God forbid, but Mark Boyle is gonna make the
for sure
the outro at some point.
Right.
Okay.
When he retires and then lives on for another 30 years and whatever.
Right.
Oh, you think Mark Boyle's going to retire?
You know what? It was so fun listening.
Pry that
today.
mic from his cold dead hand, son.
I wonder if at some point, because he's very thoughtful man, and he's I wonder if once he starts seeing he doesn't have his fastball anymore, he might feel like he needs to retire. But man, he is still so good. He's just as good as he ever was. So I hope he does this for until we have to pry the mic from his cold dead hands. But yeah, he'll make it. But I don't know anybody else really that would make that list. I mean, can you think of?
Well, I mean, that's why I bring up Benner, because he was with the organization for like 30 years or something.
Yeah,
right?
and basically he started in like 93 or 4 when I started watching the Pacers. So,
I mean, he's not really a guy that we know. So,
well, I mean, I did used to read his Indy Star
he's the PR
articles,
guy.
and he was the PR guy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
anyway.
I don't know. Maybe Liver Eaton Johnson, when he retires, he'll make the list.
But not Larry Bird.
I mean, whatever.
What did he do?
He doesn't know how basketball works.
Oh, works.
That's correct. How are tapeworms and the Eiffel Tower alike?
I don't know.
They're both parasites.
Ah, good one. That's a good one. I like that one. All right.
When I watch The Last of Us later, I'm sure I'll get some good jokes.
Yeah, exactly. We just need more puns.
Yeah, more puns.
I don't know why I thought the mermaid in math class with the algebra was so funny. I thought
it was a really good one. Yeah.
That one went way over my head.